ready for game start. Just final preparations being made, team rosters being decided upon, listeners spiraling upward in the whirlpool of 1944 World War II death and destruction. TSN, yeah.
Empire versus Krieg. And let's go over the team roster, shall we? Let me arrange my MP3s for in-game mayhem. Da. I've got so many folders I can't find a thing. There we go. You've just finished listening about an hour ago to Death Touch versus Wolfenstein, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. Victory for DT. The time to beat in tonight's game. We'll see if any team can beat the 1:42 set on the clock by DT. That was their time. And they were able to destroy both transmission towers within that time. But that is no longer the focus of tonight's game. Tonight's focus is Empire versus Krieg. Once again, Thorian makes a prediction that Empire is going to take the win. 71% over 28%. Empire's favored with those odds at xreality.com. Empire favoring an 11-man team with captains Busta, Fredo, and Wise Guy. They've defeated 4KO, Extreme Detriment, Deadly Assassins, and Hoxpanoon High Voltage in probably the closest game to date, a 2-2 overtime with a 4-second victory. Empire began as an Alliance Q3 clan and have now expanded into RTCW, despite rumors, in which I had heard an IRC. I did a little research. I heard rumors that Empire was not going to be around after BoB, but according to Empire leadership, they should be around for many years to come. You can check out their website, www.team-empire.com, for all your Empire needs. As for Krieg, they sport a 17-man roster. Their captains are herf, MrWhite, and Deadly Force. They have defeated the Amish Wolf Clan, Vanguard, Fjord and Meinenhosen, and Silent Service. No history that I can find. I tried. Krieg stands for War in German. And their website, www.chatkill.com/Krieg. My name is Warwitch, your Axis Shoutcaster for TSN, and the fun should be starting here at any moment now. Make your own predictions, but get ready for the fun. Interestingly enough, on the initial TSN Shoutcast, the battle on Das Beachhead BoB Party, the teams that fought one another were Krieg and Empire. Tonight, Krieg is out for vengeance. They are out for blood.
Incoming!
Krieg had lost to Empire and the BoB Party 3-1. So we're going to marquee this as a revenge for Krieg. They are definitely by far a different team. So do they have what it takes to take out the Empire roster? We're going to find out. What does that music mean? Only one thing. That means it's time to hop in game, because the game is on. 7-on-7, Empire, Busta, 80 ping, Fredo, 48, lukin, 53, maloc at 100, mongul at 50, mentholMoose at 116, and vortex at 106. For the Krieg roster, Noxious, 48, herf, 55, Snas at 93, SuperGuppy 45, MrWhite 64. Can't read his name. Slut at 59 and Specter at 90. Now the Axis team is Empire in the initial Set 1, Round 1. Allies, Krieg. Let's go ahead and track down the action. Turn down the headsets. Turn down the mics just a touch. I don't want to blow your eardrums out when I start shouting. Game is on, TSN, and here we go. Maloc, Empire Defense Leutnant, on the bridge above the tunnel. Death looking down. Radar station number 1 lightly guarded. Likely Empire believes Krieg is going to assault radar station 2 first. And you can hear the machine gun fire. Very likely they are indeed. Here comes Maloc following me in observation mode. He knew what I was thinking. And we've got the Empire team all over. mentholMoose as a medic on the lower floor. Fredo right there. It's taken down but revived. He is a medic as well. And thus far, here from the incoming allies down from below. They're going to come out in the secondary tunnel. And here they are rushing in. You can hear the machine gun fire. mentholMoose taken down. And we've got a swarm of Empire allies that are down, being dropped by Krieg. Grenade and Noxious, a medic for Krieg right there, fighting with a pistol. Ain't going to be helpful. They're now making their way up to the secondary objective, radar station number 2. That's where the carnage is happening right here. Mid-air grenade right there. A little, looks like a Krieg grenade. Takes out 2 Imperial members. Very hard to see who is in control, but it looks like Krieg might have control of radar station number 2. Leutnant Maloc Empire right there to make sure they don't gain control, and Engineer Vortex. Krieg is no longer in control, and it looks like Empire now has dominant control of radar station number 2. Incoming allies now through the tunnels that lead up to radar station number 2, a very thin and winding tunnel filled with crates. Regrouping in the forward storage chamber, SuperGuppy, Noxious, and friends, a series of medics grouped together, now moving outwards and trying to clear the upper phalanx of any Axis defense.
Incoming!
That is my background music.
This is the dynamite plan.
Back in game. Back to observation mode. It looks like we've got a dynamite plan in the short time that I decided to hop out. We're going to find out. We've got a dynamite plant in radar station number 2. Here comes Fredo, Engineer, and Vortex. No Vortex right there with the disarm. He's got the pliers out, and he defuses with the assistance of his comrades, guarding his back while he leans over the dynamite. 10:30 10:37 on the clock. Once again, set 1, round 1, Empire versus Krieg. 7 on 7, 10:31 remains. 0-0 is the score. Vortex Engineer now standing guard. The dark Axis banner flaring in the heavens. Incoming Noxious Krieg, waiting for his comrades. He is a medic in the storage chamber. There goes Busta running past him, Leutman, and is gunned down from behind. 2 allies, and then the allies are jumped by Vortex, who avenges the death of his team captain. MrWhite, Specter, and companions moving inwards now, trying to secure that forward station, meeting some resistance still, now moving outwards. There's an airstrike, likely going to clear the Krieg off of the radar station number 2. Noxious medic right there takes a grenade left by the Empire defense. Very nice medic action going on here for Krieg, reviving their fallen team members very quickly. Vortex Engineer suffering badly, surrounded by allies. He does not want to go down.
Medic!
Backed up now by mentholMoose medic Empire team. SuperGuppy Krieg trying to make the kills and gain the penetration he needs. Possible plant. Slut right there with the attempt. No! Slut taken out by Busta. Krieg Slut is down. Busta. Krieg, Empire captain, takes him down before the dynamite can be armed. 9:04 on the clock. Axis firing squad action. Axis in a good position. Busta, Leutman now patrolling the hallways that lead to the secondary radar station. Medic Fredo, Empire. Engineer Vortex, Empire. Once again, we are currently around radar station number 2. That is where the action happens. MP-40 Thompson fired down the hallways, skittering ricochets, and the allies do not get far. Slut Engineer now rounding the corner, only to meet the death of an Axis machine gunner. And we got a dynamite plant near the north radar station. We're going to make our way over there very quickly. I like what I see. Krieg now shifting their objective from radar station number 2. They make their objective radar station number 1, and it looks like they've got a successful plant. Can they keep the plan is what we're going to find out. Attempt to disarm. Mongul right there, leaning over, taken out just in time by Krieg. Herf, it sounds like a barking dog. Herf's grenade takes him out, and the dynamite is not disarmed. Mongul leaning over it and manages, he is revived. After being hit with a grenade, not exploded, is revived and then makes the defusement just in time with about 5 seconds on the clock.
Medic!
Very nice play. Back to the radar station number 2, we're going to follow the Empire Axis D. Currently behind Vortex, Empire Engineer. Incoming grenade spam. Here comes herf. I can't say his name. Slut and companions on the Allies Krieg team. Rushing forward now. They've got an engineer. Engineer Specter shot from behind. Helmet flies off. An attempted plant fails. The entire Axis defense, about 3 members. Empire now moving out from the secondary radar station. They have thus far secured it and are holding off the Krieg offense. mentholMoose, medic, standing guard. And on patrol, Leutman Busta, dropping grenades into the hallway beyond. Very few exotic weapons to be seen. Back over to radar station we go. Fly with me, my little German Panzerfaust children. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Incoming, here are the allies, and they are now attacking the primary shifting their objective. Here comes Krieg. They've got a good chance. Slut Engineer drops the dynamite, leans over, begins to plant secondary attempt from herf.
Dynamite planted.
Double dynamite plant, and actually a single dynamite plant. Herf is unable to make the secondary plant. Now Vortex is in the house. He's got the pliers out. Can he do it? Very likely. Dynamite defused. Mongul and Vortex Axis Empire make defusement. 6:06 on the clock. 132 listeners dialed in. Welcome to Axis Radio TSN.
Incoming.
Krieg versus Empire, round 1, set 1.
Incoming.
OGL admin's making fun of me.
Jawohl.
For my ridiculous comments. There we go. Herf right there
shifting his objective and attention. Once again, Krieg in a very malleable and flexible offense. Shift to station number 2. They make the plant, and the dynamite is in position. But here come Empire down to the lower tunnels, rushing forward. Engineer Mongul meets heavy allied resistance, realizes he cannot get through as a Panzerfaust explodes. He says, I am going to have to decide to opt not to put on dynamite and head off to radar station number 1. Allied team take out the radar station. Now 5:05 on the clock remains. They have plenty of time, but they need to be as fast as possible. We're now going to focus on radar station 01. The gate is open in the tunnel of death. Here come the Allies now rushing across the upper bridge, facing mentholMoose the medic and Lieutenant Maloc. Both stand their ground, now chaining down. Chaining is a tribe's term. Someone slapped me with a drought. Machine gunning down into the tunnel of death. Herf incoming engineer, and you can hear the machine gun fire rat-tat-tat, bouncing and ricocheting off the cold gray stone structures here of base. Incoming Krieg are being cut down. Aye! Said it again. They are being gunned down from all sides. And there's a Panzerfaust that goes awry. And grenade action. Vortex right there, dropping the grenades and taking out the incoming Allies. We've got the Allies now coming in through the tunnels and the storage crates, trying to rush into the secondary, or rather primary objective. They've taken out the secondary radar station. And here's the deal. Incoming airstrike. No, this is going to be artillery that's going to be dropping its payload on top of the Axis team. Axis bravely and wisely step away.
I need ammo.
You can hear the explosions going off from the incoming Allied artillery that does not kill any of the Empire. There's an incoming airstrike. Empire withdraws as the structures themselves. Airstrike lays down its havoc and takes out one of the Krieg members. TK action. Affirmative. I can see the target, and I think it is TK. A great deal now of machine gun and man-to-man fighting. Bloody fighting down now in the bunker areas. That's what I'm looking for. The barracks. That's what I'm looking for in the lower barrack areas. Fighting going on down here. As the Allies rush forward and then swing left to try to enter the central base marked with a large and ominous 3. 2:43 on the clock. The Axis team has only 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, and then they are able to transmit the Axis information. Ever so skimpy German accent. The Allies must stop the transmitting of the secret information to the theater in Axis-held Germany. 2:12 remains, and the carnage continues. Allies are being slapped aside. Krieg bring the war, but the black hand of Empire is able to withstand them like a stone in an icy sea. The battle continues. More airstrikes.
Incoming.
The Allies now massing near the fuel truck, moving forward, around, and between it, bouncing and getting chopped down. They're taking fire from all sides, but rushing forward in a very vigilant fashion. They've got 1 minute and 40 seconds. The fighting has now moved indoors as the Allies rush in from the lower floors upwards, meeting heavy Axis resistance man-to-man, knife-to-knife combat.
I need ammo.
Ammo being deployed, medpacks being deployed, and once again, Axis in firm control. Empire, 112 remains. They have maintained a strong and vigilant control against the powerful Krieg offense thus far.
I need ammo.
1 minute on the clock. Do or die. Krieg needs to set the time if they want to put themselves in scoring position. 48 seconds remains, and with it, the sands in the hourglass begin to dwindle for the hopes of Krieg. Krieg taking any and all attempts that they can. Panzerfaust action, gotta love that. Yee-hee-hee-ah. And with 31 seconds, their hopes of planting the dynamite successfully go down in flames. Looks like Empire is going to take the defense here. And hold off Krieg in set 1, round 1. 12 seconds remain and the 10-second countdown. That's all she wrote for this round. But we're heading off to round 2 in just a moment, where Empire gets to prove their offensive power. They're going to have a full clock in which to beat. Will it be enough time? 15 solid minutes. That's what we're going to find out here in just a moment on TSN. I'll be back with you here in just a moment. Stick around for all the action, all the excitement brought to you here by Warwitch, Team Sportscast Network, Battle on Don's Beachhead, and more.
Affirmative.
Hello, BBC. This is Ian Wilson speaking from Supreme Headquarters. The Americans are over the Rhine. Supreme Headquarters announced a few minutes ago that General Fauci's 1st United States Army has crossed the Rhine.
Affirmative.
Elements reached the Rhine and crossed to establish a bridgehead on the east bank, somewhere south of
I'm
Cologne.
an engineer. I'm a medic.
Tonight,
Affirmative.
TSN brings you RTCW. Wolfenstein. Battle on the Beachhead. Dial into all the action, TSNCentral.com. Welcome back. Vote for the team of choice out there. The map is base. The objective for the Axis to communicate their war documents to the Specter. The Allies must stop this from happening. Let's hop back in game and find out exactly who's going to be the victor tonight in Empire versus Krieg. Battle on the Beachhead, 10 seconds on the clock. The Axis now going to be the Krieg team, Empire Allies. Thank you all for dialing in. 1:40 thus far, and the game is underway. A solid 15 minutes on the clock. Here we go. Moving my way through the hallways, the cold, cobalt gray stone hallways of this Axis fortress.
Let's go.
SuperGuppy medic now. Soldat Noxious Krieg Panzerfaust Grenadier. We're on the secondary. Drops the Panzerfaust down into the hallway, taking out one of the Empire members that are rushing very quickly here at the secondary radar station. Incoming Allies rushing hard and fast. Busta, Lieutenant right there, gunning down all in his path, but finally taken out by herf. I can't say that godforsaken name.
Let's go.
Lieutenant versus Lieutenant, and herf comes out on top. 14:05 on the clock. Potential for Empire to make the plant. Fredo making the revive, tries to make the revive right there, is then killed, and just in time, here's what goes down. Makes the revive on Maloc, the Empire engineer, and being him himself is destroyed by a grenade, but that's all the time he needs to raise Maloc from the dead. Maloc then plants the dynamite in the secondary transmitting radio chamber, and in just a moment, it's going to explode. With that in mind, back now to the hallways, and we've got another very quick plant. Empire right there moving with a brisk and terrible speed have got themselves a double plant with 13 minutes remaining now on both directives. The south second. I can't talk. The south radio chamber explodes, and it's only a matter of seconds now, 20 seconds or so, until they've got themselves the point in round 1. With a firm control, Empire has disabled both radar stations, and they successfully beat the clock. Good game being exchanged, but the game far from over. Krieg going to need to step up their offensive capacity if they are going to be able to beat the Empire team. Empire planting very quickly indeed. Back with more in just a moment.
Das Oberkommando der deutschen Wehrmacht gibt bekannt. Die große Schlacht in Belgisch und Französisch Flandern geht mit der Vernichtung der dort im Kampf gestandenen englischen und französischen Armeen ihrem Ende entgegen.
The German High Command announces the battle is coming to an end and the British and French armies are being destroyed. The British army is deserting its weapons and is retreating to the sea.
Sein gesamtes unübersehbares Kriegsmaterial zurücklassend, flüchtet es zum Meere.
Glad to have you here and hope you are having a good time. I come back into game to discover that we have a stall. .877 on the clock. It looks like we have a team drop, or a member drop. Let's find out who. Empire has lost a member, and we are going to be standing by for his return. Keep in mind, thus far, in round 1, set 1, Krieg on the offense was unable to destroy the access radio chambers, transmission depots, whatever you want to call them. Radio towers, that's what I'm looking for. Unable to destroy them, however, Empire, with a full time on the clock, was able to come back in a matter of minutes, make the plant, and score themselves the point. Just a moment. The war's going to continue. Axis versus Allies here on the Team Sportscast Network. Earlier games, Death Touch versus Wolf Motor. Death Touch take the win. Congratulations to them. And tomorrow night, Abuse versus Darkside, the game you've all been waiting for. Quick look here on the server. Appears they are still standing by and waiting for their incoming. Empire, resilient, on his way. Be here in just a moment.
Yeah!
Giving me time to refresh my drink of choice, and yours as well. Keep those numbers spiraling upwards. We'll be back in just a moment.
1 minute is quiet with the birds singing. The next minute, a column of Sherman tanks coming around the corner going wide open. My buddy says, where those tanks come from? So I asked the tanker. He yells down there, the Third Army taking off. Been waiting for 3 weeks. Prepared somebody let the rabbit out of the hat. Man, what a rabbit. With pearl-handled revolvers.
When I think back to the breakthrough, I don't seem to be able to remember anything but the French people. People beside the road, kids we couldn't stop to give candy to, FFI boys bringing in the crops from the fields, and farm workers waving as we went by. It was easier to look them in the face and smile and wave back at them when you hadn't had to smash their homes to pieces first. The morning we got into Rennes, boy, that really was liberation.
Developer of such frenetic titles as Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, and Quake, the proud sponsor of Return to Castle Wolfenstein's Battle on the Beachhead online tournament. For over a decade, it continues to lead the gaming industry with superior technologies, including the wildly popular Quake 3 Arena graphics engine. When it comes to first-person shooters, these guys do it best. For a truly killer experience, visit it on the web at www.idsoftware.com. Taking 3D gaming to a whole new level is software.
With 11 seconds on the clock, you are back. Access Radio. And here we go. Axis team, Krieg, defending against the incoming Empire offense. Empire going to try to set the time, and there go the windows. The being blown out. Let's fortify ourselves. Radar station 01. Very quickly find out what kind of defense. Krieg has determined to set themselves up. There is herf, a Leutman, standing guard. Takes some major fire from the tunnel of death, and he is just blown off the second story the moment he pokes his head out. Not sure what he got hit with. It looked like a combination of machine gun fire and a grenade. And already, Empire is here. Vortex and Leutman backup plant the dynamite in radar station number 1. They've got the penetration, and now they're going to try to hold it down. 14:15 on the clock, and here we go. Krieg Nask standing by, Panzerfaust, but no engineer in place, and we've got a secondary plant. This could be trouble for Krieg. Plant in tower number 1 and station number 2, and we could have an amazing time set here on the clock that could possibly beat the time of Death Touch. We're going to find out in just a moment. North tower is disabled. Empire rushing very quickly and overrunning the Krieg Axis defense. 15 seconds or so until a second blow. Here's an attempt to disarm right there. Boom! And they're not able to. 2 engineers try to make the disarm, and they are blown sky high. 1:28 on the clock. Let me check my notes. That's going to beat the time of Death Touch. 1:28 on the clock beats the Death Touch time of 1:42. Fastest time yet. Set right there by Empire. That is not going to be an easy time for Krieg to beat by any means. We're going to find out if they can. TSN, prime time.
Hello, BBC. Wilfred Vaughan Thomas speaking with Herbert Walden recording. That's the sound of the first sounds of our own ack-ack. And it's a sign that the usual night raid on our position here is coming in. Right above us, the sky has suddenly become as bright as day. The German flares are burning, hanging almost motionless overhead in the night sky, and a shower of glittering silver light coming down from them. Here on the ground, we feel as if we were standing under the flares on a fairground. Every tree, every house seems clearly lit up, and our old flak is getting furious and fierce. First bombs going down is away to the left, but even back here, the ground around is shaking viciously, and Walden's recording truck is now rocking on its springs.
No doubt that thus far the Empire team has got the advantage. The roles are switched. Empire takes the defense. My MP3 tries to loop. Back in game we go. Empire now on the Axis defense against the Allies. Incoming Krieg. Krieg have got to beat 1 minute left on the clock. 1 minute. Oh, that ain't gonna be easy. We're gonna find out if they can. They've got to hit hard. They've got to hit fast. If they are going to be able to succeed and get themselves the point. If not, with 50 seconds remaining, another point goes to Empire and puts Krieg in a vitally bad situation. 40-second countdown, and 38.
Good game.
Good game being exchanged, 35.
Good game.
Nearly inhuman for a team to be able to beat that time. With 30 seconds on the clock, it's over. Krieg in dominant control. Or rather, Empire in dominant control here. Set the time so quickly that Krieg is not able to respond. 14 seconds, and that's a point. Score is now 2-0 in just a moment in favor of Empire. And yet the game is not over. Krieg has yet more chances here to score themselves on the board. They are now going to need to score the next 2 wins if they are going to stay in this game. Will they be able to do so? Get ready for the impossible. Krieg versus Empire. If any team can, Krieg can do it. We'll find out in just a moment. TSN.
völlige Zusammenbruch der ganzen französischen Front zwischen dem Ärmelkanal und der Maginot-Linie bei Mont.
French resistance has collapsed and the Maginot Line has been broken, destroying all French resistance. Paris is an open city.
Paris ist infolgedessen zur offenen Stadt erklärt worden. Soeben findet der Einmarsch der siegreichen
Did you
deutschen
hear the
Truppen
invasion of the id Software sounder? You'd see behind me. Be gone. I'm trying to sneak in there. I just played you. Dominant id Software. Trying to control all. Match starts in 21 seconds. We have time for a sounder. Time for a little rest and relaxation.
Battle on the Beachhead is sponsored by Grey Matter Studios, developer of Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
Formerly Zatrix Entertainment Incorporated, Grey Matter has developed such titles as Redneck Rampage, Quake 2, The Reckoning, and Kingpin, Life of Crime. For more of what Grey Matter has to offer, check out www.gmistudios.com. Grey Matter Studios.
Grey Matter Studios, ID Software, and friends continue the battle as Empire now Axis defense allies. Krieg. Solid 15 minutes on the clock. Here is the moment that Krieg needs to seize. They have got to get themselves a point here to be as fast as possible and to hold off the Krieg, or rather Empire offense. Keep in mind that Empire has been able to set and destroy both objectives in no more than 1 minute and 28 seconds. A lethal time period indeed. Now observing incoming Krieg offense. Lieutenant herf now moving past the fuel truck. Takes some fire. His helmet comes off, but he is not taken out.
Need backup.
Looking for the action right here. Maloc Lieutenant Empire now machine gunning into the hallways that lead to the primary 01 radio station. It is important that the Allies do not take these transmitting stations offline, because if they do so, TSN goes offline. That's right, Axis Radio, no more. Incoming airstrikes right there. Nice support fire. Krieg support fire clears the way. Engineer Vortex now. Radio station number 1. Radio transmitting station, rather. Machine gun fire now down in the barracks where the airstrikes are dropping German and American aircraft dogfighting in the heavens. Back up to the radio transmitting station 01, where it appears Empire is gained the advantage. They are still in control. A 3-man possible defense here in this position. Now following Lukin, a medic. Empire now down to the radar station 02 that seems to be in secure Empire hands. Moving through the confines and hallways, all is clear. Radar station 02 is unmolested. Lieutenant Busta, standing guard, dropping grenades down into the hallway, does not want the incoming Allies to gain any kind of foothold. Engineer Mongul now making his way down the stairs, MP40 in hand. Dropping the grenades at the incoming entrance where the Allies will storm forward. Let's take a look to see if they are here. No Allies to be seen. Krieg mysteriously missing in action, and connection interrupt action. No doubt Krieg is gearing up for some massive coordinated strike. I do not see them in radar station 2. Many of the Axis Imperial team are there, and here come Krieg, MrWhite, a medic, and an engineer. And they meet heavy resistance, and Nask is alive, the engineer is alive, but he's got a whole world of surprise coming out there. He gets to the secondary radar station, begins to make the plant. He's now backed up by herf, a secondary engineer. They've got a plant. Are they going to try to plant a double? No.
I need ammo.
One plant in position, the double engineer team for Krieg now trying to secure and make sure no incoming Axis make the disarm. Here comes Mongul, Empire Mongul, backed up by friends and allies, trying to beat the clock. He's now rushing towards the dynamite, tries to get inside, but takes a grenade. He is exploded, it looks like, by herf's grenade, and that one grenade takes out 2 Axis Imperial defenders, and it's going to allow the dynamite to go off, and the Allies have disabled the south radar. Now it's time for Krieg to focus on the primary radar station 01.
Dynamite plant.
Nice grenade by herf, and another plant by Specter, who now hides in the corners and shadows. makes the plant. He's got to stay alive to defend that plant as long as he can, and it looks like Krieg is going to beat the time. Going to be able to succeed in taking out both of the stations unless the Axis can get here in time. Just as I say that, the Axis is there. Vortex making the disarm, taking fire. Vortex leaning over and disarms it just in time. 10:33 remains on the clock. A good time can still be met by the Krieg roster if they can just do the penetration they need and take out this primary radar station 01. South radar station is down. Full focus, full team, 7-on-7 will now be focusing on the primary station. All defense and offense will be here in the cyclone of Axis and Allied death. Hear the cries for medic, hands up reaching to the sky. Medics with their needles in hand trying to revive their comrades. Herf engineer trying to gain the penetration and plant the dynamite, but is executed from behind with the machine gun fire to the back of the head.
I'm a medic.
Lukin, right there, medic. For Empire, make the revival on his comrades. Vortex engineer. mentholMoose in position, a medic as well. Fredo medic. Mongul engineer. And an incoming grenade from below in the tunnel of death hits the platform near the radar station, taking out several of the Axis defenders. The Axis are still in control. They are somewhat wounded and slightly weakened, but only a matter of time until they regroup. And the regrouping is coming now. Reinforcements are in place, firing gunfire down the tunnel of death. A long, long walk in that cold stone shaft.
I need ammo.
8:58 on the clock. Empire versus Krieg, score 2-0 in favor of Empire. Krieg must get a point or the game is over.
Medic incoming. Medic.
You're dialed in to TSN. Battle on Das Beachhead Tournament. Brought to you by the OGL. ID Software, NVIDIA Software. NVIDIA Software and more. Engineer Vortex now. A lot of activity around the Tunnel of Death. That seems to be the main focus where several of the allies are now trying to gain the penetration past the fuel truck and not having much luck with 8:15 on the clock. From my advantage, you can see the allies running in, the rat-tat-tat of their machine guns flashing. Will-o-wisps in the distance as they try to gain a little ground, and they're paying for it dearly. Once again, Empire demonstrating that cold iron, tyrannical hand of defense that avails them so well. They are able to shift and flow very easily from objective to objective. Now they are able to focus firmly on their primary objective, in which they know the allies are going to be attacking, and they are everywhere at once, flowing with the incoming attack and meeting the Krieg offense with a very strong hand. Krieg are now held down and trapped in the ductwork inside the Tunnel of Death. They move from one duct to another. Medics are making the revival. The ammunition is being dropped. You can hear the machine gun fire. Incredible aim right there. Empire aim, striking the headshots at range. But they are not able to stop the entire incoming vanguard of the Krieg Allied Expeditionary Force, who now find slight penetration and are working their way upwards to the main radar station. More allies incoming. Yet no allies have yet gained the secondary floor. They have thus far been shut down by the Empire defense and constrained to the lower fighting grounds of the barracks and the Tunnel of Death. More incoming allies. The Tunnel of Death, SuperGuppy, a medic, and comrades now stalling slightly. A little Panzerfaust action actually sends me spiraling away in observation mode. Go figure. Specter engineer trying to gain some sort of ground is pushed back down the stairs and then is shot from almost aside by an Axis firing squad execution team of 3 men, 2 medics, and an engineer on 1 Allied engineer spells disaster for the Allies. 5 minutes and 55 seconds on the clock. Once again, keep in mind, Krieg has not yet been able to plant dynamite in both objectives. Actually, scratch that. My notes are a little bit askew. They certainly have not been able to beat the time that Empire has set. 1:28, the record thus far. Krieg doing a remarkable and fantastic job of offense. They are morphing and moving like water, taking one angle and then another, trying to find the penetration, trying to find the weak spot of Empire, and they are only meeting machine gun fire. They are now coming in from a southern directive, trying to take Empire from behind, but Empire's ready for them. In the crate room, they are fighting man-to-man, knife-to-knife, gun-to-gun, grenades exploding. Mortal Kombat here on TSN. 4:44 on the clock. Nice Empire defense. Incoming artillery strike. This is going to cause the Empire team to evacuate the second-story bridge that overlooks the Tunnel of Death. Dropping an airstrike in retaliation. Here comes the incoming Axis aircraft. The Messerschmitt dropping the incoming bombs and grenades on the Allied team. Another, oh, there he goes, what I'm talking about right there. There's a Panzerfaust from herf. Upward spiral and takes out 3 of the Axis defenders, and then an airstrike clears off the rest, and here comes Slut, engineer. Nice Krieg offense. They've got the plant. Slut is now leaning over, pliers out, hands are working, and the plant is made. But engineer Mongul right there, Empire is there to respond, and Lieutenant Maloc, the time is clicking down. The Mongul has now been revived, leaning over, making the disarm. He's got about 20 seconds to do so, backed up by Vortex, and the dynamite is diffused. 3:42 on the clock. 2-0 score favors Empire. Second match tonight, or second match this evening. More incoming Allied artillery, going to try to clear the Axis from the secondary bridge high above. The Axis simply fall back, wait for the artillery to land, and then fall back into defensive positions. MrWhite medic, SuperGuppy medic, and herf, the lieutenant, are now trying to move forward. SuperGuppy taking fire from behind. Krieg is pinned down in the Tunnel of Death, and they are trying to get inside. We've got the 3-minute warning. Krieg roster is trying to make their way through this Tunnel of Death. They are meeting heavy machine gun resistance and Panzerfaust deep. Incoming airstrikes right there in the attempt to clear out the Empire Axis. The airstrike lands affirmative Pansy target, taking nobody out. Another potential dynamite plant. Notorious Krieg and Snas Krieg making the dynamite plant. They've got a double plant with 2:23 remaining. Very unlikely that Empire is going to be able to make the disarm, but they are going to try. Allies now in firm control. Empire now rushing. Here comes Vortex. Pliers out. Working his magic. He's got it. Mongul is next to them. Working double. One is down, and the second one is, unable to do so. They are killed by a grenade. They got about 5 seconds, making the secondary disarm, trying to do it, and they cannot do it. The Allied team disarms and destroys the chamber. Almost disarmed it right there. The clock is now set to 13:03. Keep in mind, Empire has beat the clock in 1:28. Plenty of time for them to do so. It is time for Krieg to step up their offensive, or rather defensive action, if they are going to be able to hold off the incoming strikes of Empire.
This is London. London calling in the home, overseas, and European services of the BBC and through United Nations Radio Mediterranean. And this is John Snagg speaking. Supreme Headquarters, Allied Expeditionary Force, have just issued communique number 1, and in a few seconds I will read it to you.
Affirmative.
Under the command of General Eisenhower, Allied naval forces, supported by strong air forces, began landing Allied armies this morning on the northern coast of France. I'll repeat that communique. Communique number 1. Under the command of General Eisenhower, Allied naval forces, supported by strong air forces, began landing Allied armies this morning on the northern coast of France.
In the spring of 1944, over Germany, the Allied pilots shot down 1,300 fighters. Now, the bombers could concentrate on the river bridges and rail yards in an attempt to keep the Germans from moving supplies from Calais to Normandy and from Paris to the sea. The attack fighters were out to destroy anything that moved.
Game and oh no, the goggles, they do nothing. What's 8:26 on the clock? We're gonna find out exactly what's going down.
Let's go.
Checking right now with the team's in server to find out what exactly is happening. Interesting story here. One of the members of Krieg. You're gonna like this. One of the members of Krieg broke his desk, and the game is now delayed. He broke his desk. What exactly could have happened? Game delayed because of a broken desk. Crazy. Gotta love it. That's awesome. That is classic drama. The game is delayed because I broke my desk. Jabol. The wild world of RTCW casting. Don't forget that tonight TSN is brought to you by Speakeasy.net, OGL, NVIDIA software, ID software, and more. Allied teams under the command of General Eisenhower, Axis under the command of Erwin Rommel.
The man the Allied forces would have to face on the beaches of Normandy was Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, one of the most brilliant generals of the war. In December of 1943, he was appointed by Hitler to command German army units in northern France, to hurl back the Allies if they landed there. Inspecting the huge fortifications at Calais, less than 30 miles across the English Channel from Britain, he found the defenses formidable. The beaches of Normandy, however, were a different matter.
The best the world has to offer in music, drama, and comedy may be enjoyed in one's own home. For radio's greatest application is in broadcasting mass entertainment. Sound effects add realism to dramatic programs and are produced by specialists in a small, although very interesting field. Actors and actresses perform for unseen audiences, and control men skillfully operate the apparatus which mixes sound effects, music, and dialogue.
TSN Sounder Package, take 2.
Das Team Sportscast Network presents Bargain Hell. Try it again. Das Team Sportscast Network presents Return to Castle Wolfenstein. Primetime. Stein. Return to Castle Wolfenstein. Not Steen. Stein. The Team Sportscast Network. Now.
You're listening to TSN, the Team Sportcast Network.
Der is sauerkraut in mein Lederhosen. That's a good one. It's from that one movie. Team Sportscast Network. Whoops.
The Team Sportscast Network. The Team Sportscast Network. The Team Sportscast Network.
For anyone listening and wondering why Breaker's stuck in a well, Cold Shot's recording properties aren't set right, and right now we're running out of time, so we need to keep it this way. So I'm gonna sound like I'm stuck in a well here, or a bathroom stall, or whatever. Use your imagination.
TSN. Der is sauerkraut in mein Lederhosen.
Yeah, on TSN.
Game is going to be happening here in about 85 seconds or so. A slight delay. That's right, to a broken desk. Gotta find out a little bit more about that after the game. We're about to get that groove on in just a moment. More war reports coming in. Empire versus Krieg tonight.
American victory at Cherbourg has been officially announced. Coordinated British activity in the southeast made possible the rapid drive into the vital deepwater port by troops of the United States. Crammed into the city were the elements of 3 German divisions. They were ordered to fight to the last man, to hold their positions or be shot by their own officers. But the impetus and firepower of the Allied offensive was too much for the beleaguered defenders. Cherbourg is now a liberated city. Allied machines of war had to be brought ashore on beaches, a situation now remedied by the capture of Cherbourg Harbor. The battle-scarred landscape is the price of liberation from Nazi tyranny.
3-second countdown. And here we go. Axis Defense Krieg, 12 minutes, no, 13 minutes or so on the clock, 13:03 to be exact. Now the Allied team, Empire, has got all that time in which to beat that clock. Once again, I say all that time because they have done so in 1:28, the fastest time, in my opinion, seen this tournament. Give them 13 minutes and they can likely do the job. However, Krieg now has learned their lessons. They know how Empire is approaching. We're going to find out. The Krieg can hold off the Empire team who are now rushing forward. I am in observation mode, a do-or-die situation. These happen a lot in RTCW. Krieg has got to hold back the incoming wave of the Allies for 13 minutes. If they can do so, they score themselves a point and are in position. But things are looking grim. We've got a dynamite plant south radar station, number 2. A very quick look, let's find out how that's going down. Incoming Allies make the plant looking for Krieg, and Krieg subjected to an airstrike. Oh, gotta hurt. Incoming airstrike right there, and it looks like the Axis Defense Krieg in a bad position as the incoming Allied Empire team are all over. In about 10 seconds until the dynamite goes off on the secondary station. The Allied team has now disabled the south radar and moved like flowing water. Allied expeditionary forces through tunnels, seas, and rivers as they strike hard with incoming airstrikes, artillery fire, machine gun, and grenades. Their objective, the primary radar station. They have 11 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. If they succeed, the game is over. Medic mentholMoose. Empire trying to get the penetration. He's facing Specter, Leutman, Noxious, Medic, and SuperGuppy defending the 01 radio station.
seconds remaining. I did not see the plant come in. This may actually be an Axis plant. Very likely an Axis defensive plant. Did not hear the chime of alert that a plant was made. We're going to find out in just a moment.
Medic! Affirmative.
Yes, indeed, it is an Axis plant to deter any incoming allies that might try to plant their own dynamite. It goes off, but does not kill any of the incoming allied attackers. The battle continues to rage. Krieg versus Empire here on the final engagement. Krieg now on the Axis team. Empire coming hard and striking very hard with the incoming airstrikes and artillery fire. They are coming from all sides, trying one avenue and then another. Here they come up the tunnel of death. They are unmolested as they do so. The attention of the Krieg Axis is diverted. They are able to get up now and are making their way with grenade spam. Incoming now to the main objective. There is Maloc Engineer dropping the dynamite and trying to get the plant, but they are both cut down. There's that term I should try to avoid.
Incoming.
But what appears Lieutenant herf makes the kills of 2 incoming Allied assault members and is able to secure the radio station. The transmission tower 01, North Tower, is not going to fall. Once again, now Allies rushing towards the field trunk path, the tunnel of death. They are now beneath the bridge. Gonna swing left, try to get inside. Airstrike imminent, and they miss the airstrike. Are now making their way up the gangplank. We've got Maloc Engineer, Lukin Medic, and they're now making their way clearly to the radar station. Maloc with the plant assisted by Vortex, and they've got a dynamite plant, a secondary plant incoming. 2 plants are made, and now Empire needs to hold them down. If they can do so, it's a victory for Empire. Seconds on the timer. The time is running out. The Axis defense, Krieg not able to get there in time. They're trying to rush forward to disarm it. Here comes an incoming engineer, but no! And the Allied team, Empire, destroy both objectives, and the game is over. The Empire takes the win 3-0 and move off to the next round on Battle on Das Beachhead tournament. Good games being exchanged. Mad props to both teams. We'll take a break, and I'll be back in just a moment to bring you the post-game report.